Not since the Yangtze incident in 1949. You have to be a historian to remember that. Though not in China, because it was the very first time that the Red Navy of the People's Republic of China holed and sunk a British battleship sailing up the Yangtze. It had no right to be there, of course, and the Chinese shore batteries were rudimentary. They didn't even have a navy then, but they still did for Elizabeth. Not Queen Elizabeth, the battleship Elizabeth. It was a remarkable occasion, remembered only by me and 1.4 billion people in China. It was the last time a limp British vessel steered up the river Yangtze, or any river in China. That was until Keir Starmer turned up. Now, I don't want to be churlish, and I mean this sincerely, folks. And as you know, once you can fake the sincerity, everything else is easy. I am very happy that Keir Starmer has followed me to China, because China is the future, and Britain is in a very perilous position. Very serious social, cultural, economic, and yes, military and precarious position that we have not been in since 1941. We have a range of enemies. We have very few, if any, friends. Our country is isolated like it has never been before, unless you count the enduring friendship of President Emmanuel Macron with his 11% approval rating, matching Keir Starmer's 11% approval rating, and falling, at least in the latter case. Unless you count the European Union allies that Britain left behind at Brexit. We have picked fights with the most powerful countries in the world. We have picked economic paths which diverge drastically from the rising powers in the world. We are on the road to nowhere, or as you might put it, up the Yangtze without a paddle. Now, I have informed through Facebook, right enough, very popular article that I've written there, Sir Keir Starmer, that I'm only an ultra-high-speed rail link away, because the journey time to Beijing from Shanghai is now, well, laughably short. And as we have failed for as long as I can remember to build a high-speed rail from London to Birmingham that would shave 12 minutes off the journey, well, I don't know what he would make of it if he took the high-speed train from Beijing to Shanghai. But he knows my phone number, at least his security service does. Now, after they took my phone at Gatwick Airport, he can call me if he likes. Of course, he's not the only European leader that's been heading for China. You wait years for a Western leader to turn up in Beijing, and like London buses, 3 turn up at once. Yesterday, it was a Mr. Stubbs, who apparently is the Prime Minister of somewhere called Finland. That's the people who were jointly responsible for the siege of Leningrad, which killed 1 million people. 1 million people starved to death, including the then 2-year-old brother of Vladimir Putin, though he himself was not yet born. Finland has never faced accountability, has never faced justice for their role with the Nazis in the Second World War. But hey, now that they're in NATO, at least for the moment, though they never asked their people if their people wanted to join NATO, maybe one day they will. Certainly, like the Chinese, the Russians never forget. Well, it was Stubbs yesterday. It's Starmer today. Hope he doesn't stub his proverbial diplomatic toe while he's here. And of course, it was Macron. It was Carney. It's one after the other as they realize that their supposed friend and ally, their father actually, the presidency of the United States of America, has gone absolutely unhinged. It has gone berserk. It is a bull in a china shop, though it's not much of a bull. My prediction is that Donald Trump will not be with us, at least in office, at this time next year. he is careering around in such a dangerous and reckless way and handling the US economy in such a way that somebody somewhere is bound to step in. I hope it's not with extreme prejudice. I hope it's smoothly and constitutionally with Amendment 25, with his own cabinet finding him no longer fit for his duties. Not that J.D. Vance is going to be any better, but at least he's got a clear head, one presumes. Every time I look at Donald Trump now, every time I hear Donald Trump now, I realize that there may very well be a brain tumor in there somewhere. There's certainly, if not a brain tumor, the hereditary mental illness of which his father was afflicted. His father's middle name, I remind you, was Christ. I'm not making that up. Donald Trump, having threatened Greenland, threatened Denmark, threatened again this week Canada, who he's told will not be allowed to make an economic relationship with China following Mark Carney's highly successful visit here and his very important speech at Davos. Trump has gone insane. His first response to Carney was that, yeah, he should do that. He's done a good job for Canada, but his next response was that he would not allow Canada to form such a relationship with China. So if he's able to impose that, then he already is the president of Canada and the United States at one and the same time, even though he's not yet the president of Greenland. If he's not able to achieve it, well, will there be war? The Canadian Ministry of Defence has actually produced an entire plan for guerrilla warfare in the event of an invasion by the United States of America. I'm not making that up either. I've read it. I know which forests, I know which canyons, I know which mountains they're going to fight the American invader from. That's the world we're now in. Talk about topsy-turvy. This is oscillating wildly. It was Greenland, it was Denmark, it was Canada, it was, I don't know where, but the current crosshairs are fixed on the Islamic Republic of Iran. It could scarcely be more dangerous than this. The Iranians are bristling with defiance. They have said, forget any idea that you can conduct targeted missiles at us, that you can have some kind of very forensic attack on us, some kind of limited attack on us. The first shot that you fired will be treated by us as all-out war. And Israel and you and your satrapies in the Persian Gulf will be the first to pay the price. Now, you could disbelieve them if you like. You could think they're bluffing if you like. But you must be a very big high-rolling gambler in Las Vegas or maybe Macau if you are prepared to take that risk. My money is on the Iranians, if they have to go down, going down, all guns blazing. And all guns blazing means no oil or gas at all produced anywhere in the Persian Gulf. It means no traffic through the Straits of Hormuz. That means an economic collapse in Europe in particular, which simply could not withstand the level of shock that this would deliver to the international economic system. Our economies are in a pretty parlous case. I met a Chinese man and woman today who were depressed about China's growth rate of 4.7%. I didn't have the heart to tell them that we have no growth rate at all. They were depressed because that's down from 7.9%. And they remember the days when it was 20%. I mean, that's the scale of the difference between life here in China and life in our country and in the countries like us in the Western world. Talk about the sun rising in the east. You'd have to see Shanghai to believe it. You'd have to feel Shanghai to believe it. the national unity here, the sense of common purpose here, the sense of one country, one people moving together steadily. It's a long march, all right, from the beginning of the Chinese Revolution, but my God, it has been a success. And I'll be talking, as I say, to the master, Professor Jeffrey Sachs, about the extent to which, if we all don't box clever, if we don't all take the lessons from China's success, well, the sun will not just set in the West. It will be like a kind of, I don't know, Greenland sun, or wherever else the sun never rises in the winter. The situation in the Persian Gulf could not be more serious. We all remember the 12-day war. We remember the pulverizing effect of a mere fraction of Iran's hypersonic and ballistic missile capability, not to mention the world's most successful drones. I saw a picture today of an Iranian drone above a $1 trillion American aircraft carrier, a floating coffin. The Iranians could sink that aircraft carrier before you could say Jack Robinson or Jackie Robinson for Americans. And they'd be ill-advised to wait too long before they do it. Iran has the absolute legal right to preemptively respond to a clear and publicly stated intention of another country, a nuclear-armed country, to attack it, to decapitate it, to install a naval blockade, to invade it. Iran has every legal right now to fire a hypersonic missile right down the chimney of the American aircraft carrier that is steaming towards it, or as Trump put it, a beautiful armada. A beautiful armada is steadily progressing towards Iran. Well, armadas in this day and age of ballistic warfare, of hypersonic warfare, of drone warfare, are probably the last thing you should send within range of the gunners. The Yangtze incident would be nothing compared to the sinking of the United States flagship. Well, the putative purpose for Donald Trump is to get a deal. What deal? What deal is it that he wants? They had a deal. He pulled out of the deal, a deal which was working perfectly according to the IAEA, the body that governs these matters, and according to all the other partners in the deal, the permanent 5+1. There was a deal, Donald. What deal are you talking about? He says, no nuclear weapons. But rather foolishly, in my view, the Iranians have no intention of building a nuclear weapon. If I were them, I'd have built it long ago, and then the armada would not be steaming towards them. That I can guarantee you. But for theological reasons, the Iranians have eschewed the idea of becoming a nuclear-armed power. And so that's the deal, Donald. No nuclear weapons? Great. We don't have any nuclear weapons. We have no intention of building nuclear weapons. And the nuclear deal that your nemesis, Obama, negotiated with us and from which you withdrew was plain evidence of that. But it might not need an Iranian ballistic missile. Because when I look at the American economy, it shows signs of not 2026, but 1929. When I look, as I do daily, not that I've got any, at the soaring price of gold, I see a crash coming. When I look at the 10% fall in 1 year of the US dollar, I see not 2026, but 1929. When I see that this day, on 1 day, the US dollar fell 1.6% in value, I see an economy hurtling towards a crash. There are people, how reputable they are, perhaps Professor Sachs will know, the pundits that I'm following say that the coming crash is going to make 2008 look like a children's tea party. Well, I remember 2008. I remember how everyone in the Western world, at least, looked down into the gaping jaws of catastrophe in 2008. I know the economic agony that we have all suffered in the years since. So if the coming crash will make 2008 look like a children's tea party, you might well conclude that starting a new Middle East war in the Persian Gulf at the same time is probably the most berserk idea of many crazed, unhinged ideas that Donald Trump has had. Now, returning home for just a minute. I talked to you midweek about the horror show. Well, it actually was a comedy of the British Labour Party at home. I don't want to undermine the Prime Minister on the eve of his vital talks with the Chinese leader Xi Jinping, but I have to say this. If ever a government looked like it was sailing into disaster, it is the British government, with its Prime Minister with 11% approval. The challenger is a party called Reform. If you want to place them, they're kind of like the Meloni party in Italy, or the AfD in Germany, or the formerly named National Front in France, except they're not nearly as serious as any of those. They're led by a clown with ethical horrors in his closet that are tumbling out daily, and they're saving the best for last when they're going to need it. A Reform party that is recruiting the ugliest, the most awful right-wing conservative figures from the governments of Theresa May, the governments of Boris Johnson, and the governments of Liz Truss. Who's she? Liz Truss, the lettuce, who was Prime Minister for 40 days. The government of little Rishi Sunak. They're all there. The former Home Secretary, twice sacked. The former Chancellor of the Exchequer, sacked for ethical imperfections, like charging the taxpayer to heat the stables in which he kept his racehorses. I'm not making that up either. All the worst of the worst of the Conservative government are now on the front bench of the Reform Party. They have only one club. They have only one shtick. Blame Abdul for our problems. Blame Mohammed's with his corner shop on the corner of Denton, on the corner of Gorton. Well, there's a by-election coming up in the aforementioned Denton and Gorton. I know it very well. I fought it there when it was a by-election. If it had been a by-election, I would have won it. But it became a general election in which Jeremy Corbyn came damn close to putting Theresa May out of office. The Workers' Party of Britain will be fighting that by-election with everything that we have. We haven't chosen our candidate yet. Might be me, might be our star councillor, Shahbaz Sarwar. It might be, well, I'm not going to speculate on any others. But whoever our candidate is, and if it's me, it'll have to be in absentia, absent assurances from the British Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, that I will not face what I faced with my good wife at Gatwick Airport last year. But we'll be fighting that by-election, because we fight by-elections for two purposes. The first, of course, is to win them and provide decent, with integrity, decent, honest, and wholehearted representation for the people in the constituencies that we fight. But we fight for a second reason. It's a second prize, but it's one hell of a second prize. That second prize is to fight a by-election and make sure that it causes Keir Starmer to lose it. And we intend, if not to achieve the first, definitely to achieve the second. Because we believe that it is a necessary but not sufficient condition for the revival of the British people and their working class in particular to destroy Keir Starmer's fake Labour Party. Sorry, sir, I know you're in the same country as me, and I know I said one or two positive things about you, but, well, we are always going to try and get you. It's the mother of all talk shows. It's Professor Jeffrey Sachs coming up. Stay tuned.